thing.
Like, it's just like they're just so inconsistent. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're on the other team and you're going to be finding the shit out of me,
yeah.
cool. And you finding me $500 is not going to do shit. But let me do it to you.
Let you, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want
Like,
consistency then.
yeah, like just give. And I think that's players across the league and like new fans across the country. Like, everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know.
Sophie Cunningham just signed a rookie card, but not the way you think. She didn't just scribble her name. She wrote across Jacy Sheldon's card, property of Sophie Cunningham. That one sentence went viral, and it wasn't a joke. It was a declaration. Why would a simple autograph carry so much weight? Because it backed up everything Sophie had already proven on the court, and that's why fans can't stop talking about her right now. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video.
Jacy Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because Jacy stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. Marina Mabry, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, Jacy Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. And then Marina Mabry comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor.
It all started with a play that didn't even show up big in the box score, but everybody in the arena felt it. Jacy Sheldon gave Caitlin Clark an extra bump after the whistle. It wasn't just shoulder-to-shoulder contact. It looked deliberate, like she wanted Clark to know she was there. The crowd reacted instantly. Some fans shouted for a foul, others booed, and Clark herself shot a look at the ref. That look said it all. This wasn't just defense, this was a message. Right there, the atmosphere changed. You could feel it shift from basketball to something more personal. The tension wasn't about points anymore. It was about setting boundaries.
But my thing is, like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I am someone who says what everyone else is thinking or talking about. But if you ask our league, they feel the same exact way. Not just with the refs,
Did you post
but
that
with
after
Detroit,
after you guys lost?
with Cleveland. I want people to hear what I just said. I am the only one.
The league feels the same way about the refs as you?
And Detroit and Cleveland.
Yeah.
And this is where Sophie Cunningham stepped in without saying anything. Watch the replay. You can see it clear as day. On the next few possessions, Sophie locked in on Sheldon like she had been waiting for the chance all along. She didn't crash into her, didn't throw her arms around, didn't foul hard. Instead, she played textbook defense. Chest out, feet moving, hands active but clean. Still, the look on her face gave away what was happening. It was the same look an older sibling gives when a bully goes after their younger brother or sister. No words, just that unspoken challenge. Try it again and see what happens. That's how Sophie answered Sheldon, not with trash talk, but by standing in the way and making sure Clark had backup. And it's important to understand, Sophie was already producing at this point. She wasn't just using this whole protector identity as an excuse. Through that stretch of games, she was hitting shots, spacing the floor, knocking down threes, and adding energy. Her numbers were solid, which is exactly why this whole shift felt different. She wasn't a role player searching for purpose. She was already contributing and decided to take on more. She went from being the shooter you can't leave open to the enforcer you don't want to mess with. That combination is dangerous. Now let's talk about that moment late in the game, the one fans still bring up. Sheldon tried to cut through the lane, and Sophie wrapped her up with a foul that looked almost like a bear hug. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't swinging an arm or throwing someone to the ground, but it was obvious, intentional, and symbolic. The crowd gasped, and then half of them laughed. You don't see a foul like that often. It told everybody watching that she wasn't just guarding anyone tonight, she was shutting the door completely. That bear hug was a turning point. Some players foul and move on. Sophie fouled with authority. Fans realized in that moment this wasn't a random heat of the game reaction. It was a choice to let everybody know she was willing to do what it took to show Clark won't be shoved around. That action told more than any trash talk ever could, and with every replay shared online, her new reputation started to grow. So here's the big payoff. The bump from Sheldon woke up something in Sophie Cunningham. She didn't wait for her coach to assign her that job. job. She didn't need to tweet about it or make it public. She just took it. That's when she transformed from sharpshooter to Clark's self-appointed protector, and suddenly her role on the Fever looked completely different. On the floor, she was the same productive player, but now she carried a badge no one else on that roster had. And the real twist? What happened after the final buzzer would lock that identity in for good and make the rivalry impossible to ignore. Imagine waiting in line at a fan event thinking you're about to get a simple autograph. You hand over the card, Sophie Cunningham smiles, takes her pen, and instead of just signing her name, she writes across it, "Property of Sophie Cunningham." That one moment turned everything upside down. The whole thing started in the most normal setting you could think of. Kids holding jerseys, parents snapping pictures, players moving down the row and signing without much fuss. But when Sophie decided to flip that expectation, the buzz spread instantly. People close to the table laughed, others were shocked, and the picture of that card found its way online before the event was even over. So why would Sophie do something like that? That's the part fans started debating right away. On the surface, you could say it was just her personality. She's playful, sharp-tongued, always in for a laugh. But this wasn't a random name scribbled on a napkin at a restaurant. This was Jacy Sheldon, the same rival who had bumped Caitlin Clark earlier in the season. Writing "Property of Sophie Cunningham" wasn't harmless. It came across like a claim. She was saying not only was she ready to step in on the court, she was stamping it in ink. And the internet noticed. Screenshots popped up, captions got added, and the phrase spread like wildfire across basketball Twitter, Instagram Reels, and fan forums. The craziest part is how quickly it grew into a meme. By the next day, edits started popping up, Clark highlights with "Property of Sophie Cunningham" plastered on the screen. Fans made parody graphics, and suddenly, Sophie wasn't just protecting her teammate, she was branding herself as the face of that type of toughness. What looked like a throwaway moment at a promotional event became the symbol of her role. Clark's protector, the Fever's spark, the enforcer everyone's talking about. That's how powerful one signature can be when the context adds all the weight behind it. And then came the spin-offs. Another fan edited the phrase into "Property of Sophie Gunning," playing with Sophie's name and flipping it into something even stranger and funnier. At first, it might have seemed like just random internet trolling, but it actually added to the Fever's culture. Fans started running with these variations as a joke, but the repetition made Sophie feel bigger than life. Memes piled up, hashtags appeared, and you started to hear her name dropped in conversation more often than some of the stars actually leading the team in scoring. It was less about stats now and more about persona. Analysts even started pointing it out during broadcasts. They noted how her personality and presence were making her just as recognizable as her production. And when you step back, it makes sense. Most teams have one clear star, sometimes two, but the players who stick in your memory are the ones that add a different edge. If you asked casual fans who the second most popular Fever player is right now, many wouldn't say Nalissa Smith or Aaliyah Boston, they'd say Sophie Cunningham. And that leap happened not only because she hit shots, but because moments like this autograph turned into cultural flashpoints. Sophie Cunningham didn't just respond to Jacy Sheldon, she built a whole storyline around it. Clark scores, runs the offense, and pushes the pace, but Sophie turned herself into the protector, the one who makes sure nobody pushes Clark around without answering for it. That balance has completely changed how people see the Fever. Now here's the real question, does the WNBA need more players like Sophie, or should this type of enforcer role stay unique? Because that autograph wasn't just ink on a card, it was a claim of control, a stamp Sheldon has to chase, and fans won't forget.